Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tyler if you're new here, and I'm so excited about today's video. I know I say that a lot, but something about this video today just feels like really purposeful, intentional, helpful, useful, and I want you to take as much as you can from this video. If you're from my TikTok family, you know that I post a lot over there, and a few days ago, or I think maybe like a week ago, I posted a TikTok talking about the things that I was struggling with. I saw it was a trend that was going around on TikTok, and I felt heard when I saw other people's TikToks and heard the things that they were struggling with, because I feel like sometimes we get in this rut of feeling like we're the only ones going through things, or we're the only ones going through certain things, and it causes us to feel down, lonely, and sad. And not that I think that we deserve to feel those things at all, but sometimes I think we can isolate ourselves because we feel like we're the only ones dealing with certain things. So when I saw that trend on TikTok, I was like, you know what, let me film my own, let me post it on TikTok. And I was surprised at how many people felt like they could relate to the things that I was struggling with, and that we were kind of all in the same boat. And so I took that TikTok and I turned it into a journal prompt. And the journal prompt pretty much went along the lines of like, okay, Tyler, what are we struggling with today? And then at the end of me writing out all my struggles, kind of getting it out on paper, releasing it off of my shoulders, I then asked myself the question, okay, so how are we gonna address these things? What's next? What are we gonna do? And I was mind blown at how such a simple journal prompt and a simple session led to so much productivity and purpose. And I was like, wow, like I can really take on these problems head on. They aren't so big and overwhelming, like I can conquer them. So I made a list and ideas and steps and brainstormed all the ways that I could solve the things that I was struggling with, or at least make effort into improving them and kind of weaning them out of my life. And when I finished that journal prompt, I was like, Tyler, you have to make a video addressing this, because I feel like it could be super, super helpful, especially with the amount of people that commented on that TikTok. So we're going to talk about that today. I know we all struggle with different things, but if you take anything away from this video, write those things you're struggling with down on paper. And then when you're done, figure out ways that you can solve those problems or make yourself feel better, because you know what? It is such a helpful exercise. I did it for myself and I want you to do it too. So let's get into today's video. Also, I know I'm wearing a lot of red. I just looked at myself in the viewfinder. This is a lot of red. I'm about to go to work after I film this video, and this is just one of my comfiest sweatshirts. So it's a red day. Red is powerful, right? Please feel free to talk and chat with me in the comments, y'all. That's one of the biggest parts of this whole video and this series, is because I want us to kind of learn and grow from one another. Like, I hope that you take something away from this video, and then if you comment down below, I can learn and take something from you, which is super, super exciting. So there were 4 things that I touched on in that TikTok about what I was struggling with, and the first one was feeling lonely. And it's funny that I say that, and for the longest time I didn't identify it as loneliness, because I was like, I have so many friends. I also live in New York City, which is such a huge place. There are people constantly around you. And I especially remember feeling this feeling prior to the pandemic, because I was like, I live in New York. Like, why do you feel lonely in one of the biggest cities in the world? And I was starting to doubt that feeling. And ever since I moved back, it started to kind of resurface again. And I just want to make it clear, you can feel lonely with an active social circle. And I think sometimes people tend to discredit the feeling of loneliness because you're like, well, I'm around people all the time. But what I started to question, and when I finally realized that I was lonely, is I started to measure the quality of that time that I was spending with other people. Was it intentional time? Was it valuable time that I was spending? Did people care to have me there as much as I cared to be there with them? And those are kind of ways that I started to realize, like, all of this time I'm spending in these social settings isn't doing much for me. I felt kind of like an outcast, or that my presence wasn't needed, and that made me feel more alone and to myself. And it's not a good feeling. And loneliness is something that I never want you to experience, because first of all, it shouldn't be our experience. We should be social. We should have fruitful and happy and healthy relationships all around us. One way, from my journal prompt that I wrote about how I planned, to kind of get rid of that feeling of loneliness was to be intentional with my relationships. I feel like I have been spending time in a lot of social circles or activities in which my presence wasn't valued, and that's what caused me to feel lonely. So even if I scale back on my social experiences, I want to make sure that I surround myself with people that I love and that I care about, and that they care about me too. They want me there. They want to engage in conversation with me. They want to know how I'm doing, because the power of intentional relationship really says so much, and it makes you feel different. It makes you feel heard and seen and valued, which kind of eliminates all of that loneliness that you were having before. So that's what I'm trying to do moving forward with all my friendships, relationships, because I want to make sure that I put myself in spaces, settings, and scenarios in which I'm cared for and valued. That's how I plan to eliminate the lonely feeling. And I want you to do that too. So that's how I plan to address loneliness. I know that was a little bit of a ramble there. The second biggest thing that I have been struggling with is being unable to change the past. And that's something I have always struggled with, letting go, realizing that the past is no longer for me and no longer serves me. But something about it I just always held on to. I just was like, I can't forget it. Like, it's such a big part of my life. Like, I can't just leave it be. And a lot of those things that I can't let go are kind of situations or scenarios or people that kind of bring a lot of negative and sad emotions out of me, which is why me not being able to let go of those things is so damaging to me personally, because they aren't positive or happy experiences. And I spend a lot of time being like, what if I did this differently? Or like, what if I never said that? Or what if I never met this person? Or like, what if I never went to that event? Those things would have never happened to me and I would be fine today. And so that's kind of a thought process that I get into, in which I spiraled and I just can't let go, and it just happens over and over and over and over again. And it's just, I don't know. It's something that I'm in therapy for, but it's so hard for me, and it always has been so hard for me to let go. So when I started journaling about it, I was like, okay, well, what can I do in this moment to make me feel better? What can I do to kind of release the weight of the past off of my shoulders? And there were a few things that I wrote down, and over the past week, it seems like it's been helpful. And so I kind of want to give it to you. My biggest thing is to kind of change my mindset. Everything about the past exists in my mind, and your mindset is such a powerful thing. And it's going to be a thing where you have to identify when you're thinking about the past, thinking about those negative emotions, and switch it off. And you're like, okay, well, how do I do that? You kind of have to change to an optimistic mindset, or more so in the thought of gratitude, where you're like, I'm grateful this happened to me, or I thank this opportunity because it made me who I am today, and it is preparing me and setting me up for the person I'm going to be in the future. And I know that sounds really, really strange, especially when some horrible things happen to us. Not saying that they needed to in order to turn us into this individual, but rather that there's nothing I can change about that. I'm going to use it in an effort to make me better, and then see me grow and become an even more incredible version of myself in the future. So that's how I like to approach the things that have happened to me in the past, with a sense of gratitude. And when I approach them that way, I instantly change what was once a negative, sad, and icky emotion into something that's more peaceful and calm, and gives an aura of a reset. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not sad about that anymore. I'm optimistic. And then I start to think about the future. And it sounds so simple, but it's hard. It's not easy every time that I reflect about the past to be like, okay, Tyler, switch it off. Like, no, sometimes I will sit there and I will wallow, and it's a cycle. But then like I said, I identify, and then I'm like, okay, Tyler, let's think about this from a moment, Tyler, let's think about this from a position of gratitude. Let's change that thought from negativity and sadness to appreciation and gratefulness, and then think about the future. And like I said, it takes time, it takes practice. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a part of being super, super intentional about your thoughts and your feelings. And that's the biggest way that I plan to really tackle, you know, letting things go, is by changing my mindset and changing the way that I think about it so that it's something I no longer think about. And like I said, I'll keep you guys updated on how that really works, because like I said, it's a cycle. It happens over and over and over again. It's not going to be something that happens super, super easy and quickly. But even just over the past week, me identifying, fixing, changing my mindset, it has made me instantly feel better. And I'm really, really happy that it's something that I've started to do for myself, because I can see that progress is going to come after months and months and months of working on this, or excuse me, even weeks or days. So I'm really, really excited, and that's how I plan to work on being able to let go of the past, or at least just view it differently than how I currently am. Okay, this point I'm gonna try and not laugh about a lot, but a lot of you on TikTok related to me on this point, but it was feeling incapable at work, or being made to feel like you're dumb or stupid or less than. And we can talk about this on so many different levels, but from my personal experience, I've been with this company for about 3 years, and I've been different positions, and I used to be in positions in which I was more senior. I knew a lot about my role. I was looked onto for advice or input, and I really liked that, you know, my managers could look to me in that way. But ever since post-pandemic, I've took on a new role, and it's still something that I'm learning. I'm very, very much new to it. I've been in it for about 3 months, but the way that I'm treated at work is completely different than how it was before. And it was really starting to get to me. More so, like, the biggest problem about all of it is I feel like my managers, excuse me, are talking to me as if I'm dumb or stupid or incapable. And I think that they also forget that I'm new, I'm learning. Like, this is a whole part of the process. Like, I'm not gonna know everything instantly. Like, you learn by doing, and especially that's how I learn as a person. And it's been so prominent over the last few weeks, and it's just really kind of taken a toll on me, because I know, like, I'm going to work to do my best. I'm going to work to, you know, do the best that I can for the company. And, you know, sometimes I just don't know things, but the moment a manager looks at me kind of with like a snarky look, or kind of like questions, you know, my capability or my questions my capability, or speaks to me with an attitude or a tone that is just kind of, I feel like, inappropriate in a workplace, it really does get to me. And also this point that we're talking about now will also tie into my fourth and last point. But yeah, I've been struggling with feeling, you know, incapable or dumb or stupid at work, only because my managers have led me to feel that way. And one, I just want to say, if you're also struggling with that too, I'm sorry. I feel like people in positions of management should never address you in that way. Managers in the position that they have, especially being a leadership position, should understand, guide, and teach you in a way that's productive and helpful and positive, rather than making you feel like I would never do that. That's not the way that I would want to lead my team. So if that's happening to you, I'm so sorry. But these are the things that I've journaled about, that I'm hoping will help me, you know, when that continues to occur at work. First thing I do is I celebrate myself. I feel like not a lot of managers celebrate their team when they do things right. It's really only, let me criticize you when you're wrong, and it's never really constructive criticism. It's like, no, you did this wrong, yada yada yada. There's no growth to come from that. So I realized I needed to start celebrating myself. And you know what? I have felt so much better, especially because I'm still new. And like I said, I learn more when I, you know, am actively working. Like, I learn by doing. And so sometimes when I go into work and I'm like, wow, I've never done this before, I did it today, this is now something that I know, I'm gonna celebrate myself for that. Because like I said, this is one thing I didn't know the day before, now I know it now, I'm gonna celebrate myself for that. Celebrating yourself, I feel like, is one of the easiest way to kind of acknowledge that you're doing well, you're doing a good job, because sometimes you're not gonna hear it from other people, and sometimes you're not gonna hear it from your managers or people in positions of power over you. Sometimes they just aren't gonna recognize it. So if at the least, you give it to yourself, Good for you. I celebrate you too. The next thing I want to say is I want you to understand that you are new. Don't treat yourself so harshly or so poorly. You are new. We don't know everything when we're new. Like that's the whole premise of being new. You have so much more to learn. You have so much more to explore. You won't know until you learn or you do. So there's no reason for you to also be mad or beat yourself up because of something you don't know. Don't be afraid to use your coworkers. Ask questions. Asking questions is a great thing. Maybe lean on someone that you know is going to give you constructive criticism in a positive way and not going to talk down to you or talk rude to you. I found, coworkers at work that I can ask them questions about and be like, hey, like I've never done this before. Like, can you help me out with this? As opposed to going to my managers, I needed a safe space, a safe person where I could have conversation back and forth, where I can learn and feel like it's a productive, positive, and healthy conversation. So I'm really happy that I have those people. And if you can identify those people in your workplace too, you have an ally, and someone that wants to see you succeed, do well, and be better. And ever since I began to celebrate myself, I found those allies at work. I have people that I can lean on, and understanding that I'm new and I won't know everything on day one has helped me overall kind of block out when my managers maybe approach me or talk to me in a way that just doesn't make me feel well. I have all those other things to kind of recenter me and refocus me if it's not working out or if their comments are getting to me a little bit more than they should be. And kind of piggybacking on like feeling incapable or stupid or less than at work, I have been struggling with taking things too personally. It's something that I've always struggled with. I feel like ever since high school, I can read and feel energies and auras from other people. So I've always just been like a sponge to other people's energy. And it gets kind of draining. It really does affect me, and it's such an easy impact on me and my mood and how I feel. And it's something that I can just like no longer do because it does affect me so easily. And from the conversation we were having in my TikTok comments, like you guys feel the same way too. I just like, I don't know, I take things too personally, way too much. So the first thing, I actually Googled how to not take things too personally because this is something I always struggle with, and I was like, I just need input from some other source. But having confidence in yourself, knowing your worth, and not jumping to conclusions. So kind of like 3 different things: confidence in yourself, knowing your worth, and don't jump to conclusions. I think a lot of times when I take things too personally is me jumping to conclusions. Like someone could say X, Y, and Z, not even directly, but me being like, oh, because they said it in that tone or with that expression on their face, it's immediately negative, it's immediately about me, it's immediately this, that, and the third, when in reality, it's just, that's just who they are, that's just how they speak, that's just how they present information. And another thing is that I need to learn that not everyone is going to like or accept me. So when people do have comments and when they do say, I don't like this about you, or I'm not a fan, or this, that, and the third, all right, I'm not your cup of tea. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And you know what? That's okay. There are so many people on this earth, on this planet, like there are going to be some people that either don't like you, don't appreciate you, don't have kind things to say about you. And all right, but y'all can keep that to yourself. It's so easy to absorb and like bottle up people's comments and negative energies that they have towards you. But if you remain calm and centered in the fact that you are great, you know your worth, you have confidence, you are not going to let those things phase you. And that's something that I work on with affirmations, which is something I want to talk about in another video. But just understanding that you are great in your own power and like who you are as an individual, you won't let the things other people say about you, whether they be blatant or interpretive, affect you. And that's something that I have noticed instantly when I've started giving myself or carrying myself with more confidence. I have not let other people's energy affect me, and it has been wonderful. It's been so grand. Yeah. And the biggest note I have on that comment is to stop giving your power away. When you let other people's comments or concerns or negative opinions and auras come onto you, you are letting them take a piece of you away. And you know what? They do not deserve that piece. That piece is what makes you whole and who you are. And the moment you give that to another person and give them that power and that energy over you, honey, you cannot let people do that. So that's why I think it's really, 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 really important to just know who you are, understand your power, remain in that confident position so that no one's comments, concerns, opinions can shake or waver you at all. All right, my loves, that's all I have for today's video. It was such a fun one. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as I did talking about it. There are so many, you know, words of wisdom or advice or things that we could all say that I hope you guys comment in the comments about, but also take to it in your own journal prompt. Go ahead and write out the things that you're struggling with, and also make sure to write down the things that you feel like you could do to help solve those problems or make you feel better about those things that you're struggling with. It is such a productive and positive, you know, journal prompt, journal entry, and I think that it could do wonders for you if you let it. If you're not already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and follow me on TikTok and Instagram, and let me know what we should talk about next. This was so much fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed filming it. Bye, guys.